I started playing the piano when I was 6, and I didn't really like it that much, but I found out really fast I could just play anything I liked. So I always took lessons, but I, I would pretend that I was practicing and read my book on. Oh, don't make the mistakes my generation have made with the environment, with greed, and kick the billionaires to the wall. Put the bones, well, we found out, we said, what's this trash heap over here? That was where they put the bones.
So, welcome everyone to my podcast, The Entrepreneurial Exchange, episode 1. I'm so excited to introduce my vocal teacher, Miss Janet, who went from a self-proclaimed reluctant musician to a successful opera singer and vocal teacher. Miss Janet, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Let's start at the very beginning. So tell me a little bit about your childhood and what that was like.
Well, I grew up on Long Island, and my parents, my dad was an engineer, my mom was a housewife, and we lived in a kind of a wooded suburb of Long Island on the North Shore near Huntington Station. And I started playing the piano when I was 6, and I didn't really like it that much, but I found out really fast I could just play anything I liked. So I always took lessons, but I would pretend that I was practicing and read my book on. Anyway, I did continue with piano, and when I was in elementary school, I also played the violin, and I was in the chorus. And in junior high school, I was in all the plays. I liked to do that. And I played in the orchestra all through junior high. And I don't think I was in the chorus. I wasn't singing very much in junior high. When I got to high school, I kind of got tired of the piano. I'd been taking it for so long. So I quit the piano. And I was doing a lot of writing, drawing and painting. I really thought that's what I would do, be a children's book illustrator. But I started chorus again as a class in my junior year of high school, and I could play the piano, anything I wanted to. I think I actually was taking lessons at that point. And when I got to 11th grade, I discovered that I liked singing more than the piano, even though I kept both up. But other than that, it was the usual childhood. I'm very arts oriented. I liked drawing and painting even when I was a kid, and crafts. And my parents were pretty easy about whatever I was interested in and tried to support me with that.
And did your parents provide any inspiration to go into the singing and vocal area?
Well, actually, my parents, neither of them were musical. And I have a brother, and he's not musical at all. The only reason I took the violin is because he had tried the violin, and we had a violin left over. So he was terrible at it, and lasted about 2 years. My dad was really interested in opera, and they had a subscription to the symphony, and my mom and I would sing in the church choir. And that's about the extent of her music ability. She was an alto. She called herself a filler alto. And no, so there wasn't really... And like all kids, I liked the popular music of the day. So I liked the top 40s, and my friends and I certainly didn't listen to classical music. But it was in my head all the time, because that's all my dad listened to at home. He hated modern music. He didn't like anything. My parents just thought pop and rock music was just horrible. So it wasn't really obvious to me that opera was going to become something I was interested in until I was a junior in school, and I had a friend who had voice lessons, and I realized how much fun it is to make those noises that nobody else can make.
Wow, that's very, very inspiring, and such an amazing story about your childhood. So when did you make the decision that you wanted to study music in college?
I didn't really make that decision, to be truthful. I was the lead in the musical, and I was the pianist for the chorus, and I was in the pit band, and I did a lot of stuff with music. And when I started taking voice lessons, I realized how much fun it was. And I won a competition, and it was the NISMA competition, which was on Long Island, and it was a graded competition. And from my score on that, I went to the all-state chorus and the all-eastern, and I sort of thought I was onto something. So when I was a senior, I had won the prize in 10th grade. When I was a senior, I think I kind of had been taking a lot of drawing and painting, and I presented my portfolio to the Regents, the New York State Regents, which was kind of like the high authority. And I kind of wanted to go into archaeology or forestry. My parents thought that was stupid, and they weren't very excited about it. And my parents had decided that I was not going away to college. I was going to stay on Long Island and go to school there. The thing is, they weren't ready to be empty nesters. And I had a high school boyfriend who was a year behind me, and I didn't really want to leave him, so otherwise I would have made a big fuss. So I stayed on Long Island, and I went to college there, and it was just a liberal arts school. And I studied anthropology and history, but music also. And I got into the upper choruses at school, and I really did, seem to be better than all the other people that were at school. And so after the 2 years, I went and auditioned again at Boston Conservatory, where I'd auditioned before, and I got in. And that's why after 2 years of college, I'd kind of decided that I really kind of liked the idea of studying music.
Okay, so college is done. So what do you do after college?
What do you do after college with a degree in music? Well, I have to be honest, it's not a very useful degree. It's not like you go and get a desk job. Although you could, I suppose, but that would have been a waste of my time. So I did what a lot of freelance musicians do. I had like 5 jobs, and it was actually really fun. It's not like sitting in one place at a desk all the time, because that really wouldn't have done it for me. So I had a job playing the piano in a club for 3 nights a week. I played for some seniors on Wednesday afternoon from 12 to 1 in a senior place. I had a teaching job where I would go to different students' houses through, it was a music store, and I taught piano and voice, and that was up on the North Shore of Massachusetts. And I had a church job, which was on Sunday morning. And after my church job, I worked at Saks Fifth Avenue because they had a good discount, and I liked clothes. And I worked about 3 days a week in the morning at Pier 1 because they had cool stuff that I liked. So 6 jobs. And then I won a competition at the Opera Company of Boston. And the prize for that was like $100, and I get to sing in the opera chorus for very little money. But I was excited because it was a gig, and this was world famous singers and a world famous conductor. So it was the first time I ever got to be on a stage like that. It was with Sarah Caldwell, and we did Turandot, which is a big, huge opera by Puccini, and then Der Freischütz. And at that point, I was very happy to be working. I was doing all these different things that weren't all about singing, but I was making a lot of money for those days because my rent was like $155 a month.
Yeah, that's unheard of around
here.
In Boston?
Yeah, well, I shared a flat with 3 girls,
Okay.
and we weren't paying any money, so I was making $800 or $900 a week. And, I wish I could make as more money for my mortgage as I was, as much percentage. It was ridiculous. Anyway, I had also met the person who I was in love with was my high school boyfriend's best friend in college at MIT. And moved to Denver to work at Martin Marietta Aerospace after college, and he wanted me to move out there. And it took me a year to go, but finally I went, and I moved to Denver. And I did not like Denver, and there wasn't a lot of singing out there, but I did what I could, and I actually entered school as an interior designer, and I did a program of interior design out there. But then after 4 years, he wanted to come back to the East Coast, and he was working at NASA in Washington, D.C. So between those two jobs, we took a trip around the world for 7 months, which was really fun. And then we got back to D.C., and I felt like my singing life would continue at that point, because I felt like it had been put on hold, really, because there was nothing much to do in Denver, Cowtown.
Where did you go for those 7 months?
Oh, the 7 months. So we started in Hong Kong, and we went for about a month and a half, 2 months in China, all over China. And then we took a boat from Shanghai back to Hong Kong, and then we flew to Singapore. And then we did Malaysia, Thailand, and then back to Singapore. And then we went to Cairo, we went to Turkey, we went to Greece, France, the UK, and Scotland, and then we came home after all those places.
Any favorites out of those places?
I think my favorite place is Turkey. I love Egypt, and the UK is definitely a favorite place, but I think I've been to Turkey 3 times, and I just absolutely love Turkey so much. I think that's my favorite place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about Turkey?
Oh, Istanbul. It's like walking into a jewelry box. It's so beautiful. And there's all sorts of Janet stuff there. You know, I like shopping, and I bought rugs and little paintings, and all the stuff I have in my
We just got back from our summer trip to Turkey.
You can't stop buying stuff, right?
Oh my god,
It's
there's
just
so
like
much stuff
so
in
much
Turkey.
stuff to buy. I bought several rugs from Turkey. I bought those glass lanterns. I bought some metal work, little miniatures on bone.
So you got suckered in the Grand Bazaar.
Oh, love that place. Yeah, they
It's
have
like the oldest shopping mall in the history
I
of the world.
know. It's just like on steroids. It's I could easily live there.
Yeah.
I love Turkey. It's also really, I don't know, it's just walking around the old streets and seeing all the interesting Arabs and all their wives and stuff like that. Yeah, that's why I like Turkey so much.
So then you came back after he started working at NASA.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up at NASA in San Francisco or NASA in Houston?
NASA in Washington D.C.
In Washington D.C. So then what brought you out to California?
Well, after that, he worked at the White House.
Okay.
So what happened was
Who was president at the time?
uh.
What years?
1988.
So Reagan.
So
Bush.
Reagan, the end of Reagan, and the beginning of Bill Clinton. So during Republicans' administration, aerospace and defense is a big budgetary concern to them, so they fund it. Well, when Clinton came to office, he immediately defunded aerospace. And so my husband was at the Office of Management and Budget, and he worked on the space station and space shuttle program. And he was really doing very well until the funding went away and his job wasn't very interesting. So he wanted to move to San Francisco or to the Bay Area so he could get his MBA at Stanford. Wow. And that's when we moved. But meanwhile, over in Washington, I didn't want to move because I had restarted my career because it was really easy for me to drive up to New York City, which is the center of the classical music universe in the U.S., and I'd won a big competition. I had also gotten a manager. I had a lot of work. And suddenly, out here, I didn't know anybody. But I moved in 1994, and we had a 2-year-old daughter. And we owned a house back there. And I wanted to go back, so I made us rent the house out because I thought we'd be going back, but we never did.
Do you still own the house?
No, we sold that one long ago.
So what was it like to restart life so many times in so many different cities?
I guess you get used to it, all that moving around. I was good at networking. That's the thing. When you're in the arts, you have to be really good at networking. You have to not be afraid of cold calls, and you'll get a lot of no, we don't need anybody. But since I had to do this so many times, by the time I got here, I was really good at it. But in those days, there were music stores, and people would, put signs up at the music store. They needed musicians, and choral societies and orchestra would say that they were doing this or the other thing. And I would just, who's running that choral society? Who's running that orchestra? And I'll call them up, the director, and I say, I'm just new in town. Can I sing for you? And usually they say yeah, because nobody really does that. They always wait for an audition to happen. And if you don't wait for the audition, you just make your own, you're ahead of the people who are waiting around for opportunity. So I did that, and I got a lot of work. And I've always get a good church job. And my church job was at the Church of the Presidents. My first church job in Washington was at the National Cathedral, closed at St. Albans. And the second one was at the Church of the Presidents, where Donald Trump held the Bible upside down and gassed the clergy. And I also had a teaching job at the National Cathedral School. And I had a gig also, because I've always been playing the piano in clubs until about 2003 or 2003. I still play piano in clubs because it's really easy money, and you can just go get a sub and go travel and do whatever you need to do. So it seemed like the thing to do. Also, I had, as I mentioned, I had a daughter, and by the time we moved here, she was 2 when we moved here.
So you sing everything, not just opera music.
Oh, well, I had to sing pop and jazz, let's fall in love. Why shouldn't we fall in love? And yeah, I've done a lot of musical theater. But yeah, I mean, the singing classical music, and it's not just opera, I do oratorio, and it's called legitimate singing in another way to say it. But it's just kind of exciting to have that kind of control over your voice, and to know that you can make such a loud noise. I don't know, that's what grabbed me in the first place. Wow, I can make this big noise. I'm just little, and I can make this huge noise.
Okay, so you're like a really experienced singer. Like nowadays, who do you think is like a really like talented singer?
You mean like modern singers?
Yeah, like 2020 to 2025. Or we'll say 2010 plus.
Oh boy.
Or go to 2000, because it opened. Or even go to the 90s. Who do you feel are the most naturally talented singers?
Oh my God, I don't know. I don't listen to pop music very often, and so that's a...
Like Whitney Houston?
Yeah, she was great. She was a good singer.
Mariah Carey?
Yeah, she's okay. Believe it or not, I like Josh Groban, and I like Michael Bublé.
Oh yeah.
I like him a lot. They have a singer whose name is Lorena McKinnett. She sings folk music. She's a Canadian folk singer. I think she has a great voice, and I think she sings really well. It's hard to know whether someone like Taylor Swift really can sing, because you don't really hear her singing. Not like, it's not, pop music right now is not very tuneful. It doesn't have a lot of, it's usually within a very narrow range, so some people can sing, 7 notes, but can they sing higher and lower? So I don't really know. But I do listen to Michael Bublé a lot, and Josh Groban I think is a very good singer. You mentioned Whitney Houston. Name some other singers.
Do you know Bruno Mars?
No.
No.
Celine Dion?
Yeah, she's okay. I'm not that big a fan of hers.
Okay.
Maybe Beyonce?
No, but she's more of a show than a singer.
Yeah, but she sings pretty well. Yeah, no, she gets the job done. Yeah. I guess I don't like the singers that they have a weird voice, and like Bob Dylan. I didn't like his singing because it was just bad singing, And there's a whole bunch of singers who really don't sing well, and that they're famous anyway. I mean, I think Sting sings really well. He's a really good singer.
Bono?
And Bono, yeah. It's just, but there are a lot of other singers that you like. Steven Tyler is just yelling and screaming, you know. So I like it when the voice is nicely produced and it's pleasant to listen to. I guess is an important thing because I didn't find that Steven Tyler is not pleasant to listen to. I don't.
Like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he's okay. He knew what he was doing, but there's some singers that I can just tell that they could also sing classical music really well, and sometimes I'm really surprised when actually they do. Like the guy who did Beauty and the Beast, in the Beauty and the Beast movie, the live action movie, Dan Stevens is the Beast, and I saw him on Downton Abbey, and he doesn't sing on Downton Abbey, and then he plays the Beast, and I thought, wow, he has a really nice voice. He can really sing. But on the other hand, Emma Watson, I didn't think could sing.
I don't know. Nowadays they do all that auto tune and stuff. So
Yeah, well,
you never really know.
No.
For sure. So after moving around all these places, when did you join the San Francisco Opera?
Oh, okay. Well, I hadn't really ever planned on being in a chorus. I mean, church job is one thing, but I hadn't planned on it. So a lot of my friends did it, and it's a professional job. And but I was a soloist at the time when I moved here, and up until I actually joined the chorus, I had gotten married again in 2003 after a divorce. I divorced the other husband.
The MIT guy?
Well, we got out here and things weren't working out. I hadn't really wanted to come out here anyway, and I didn't change my mind about that. I didn't really get a choice. I didn't think. So our marriage fell apart, and by 1997, and then I remarried in 2003, and what was the question again?
So you remarried. Why did you stay in San Francisco if you didn't want to stay?
Because we had a daughter, and
Okay.
she was 5 at that point, or
Okay.
something like that, and she was just little, and so we agreed in the first divorce, that we would stay in the area, and that was okay. But by that time I'd established myself. As I told you, I worked really fast, but I hadn't really planned on being in the chorus. I was a soloist, and I did operas here and in Europe, but as moving from New York, my manager there, I couldn't get to my auditions anymore. And I just really, she would call me up on Tuesday and say there was an audition on Thursday, and I couldn't go. So I finally bagged that and said it's going to be a West Coast career. And so I did. I did a lot of operas and chorus societies and orchestras, and it was all solo work. I didn't do any choral work. And when I got divorced the second time, I realized I needed health insurance because my husband had always provided health insurance, and it was really inexpensive before. And suddenly the prices of health insurance were going way up. And so I actually got a job teaching college at San Francisco State because I thought they provided health insurance. And then I got my first job at the opera. I knew they had health insurance. Well, San Francisco State made you pay for your health insurance even though you were allowed to pay. And I didn't think that was a good thing. And I didn't like San Francisco State anyway. I didn't like teaching college. So then
Wait, so what did you teach at college?
Singing.
Singing.
The opera, I did the opera class. I taught vocal literature. I taught, the usual stuff that singers learn. So I joined the opera chorus as an extra chorister, and I did that for 3 seasons, and I liked it. By that time I had moved into a nice house, and in San Carlos. And I had a big studio of students, about 25 students, private students, and I had my solo gigs and then the opera, and it was kind of great. Although I didn't have health insurance until the 4th year that I was at the opera when I got full-time. And I had to think about that because it meant I had to dump a lot of the things that I was doing already. But I took it, and it has complete benefits. There's a 401k, there's a pension fund that the company pays into and I don't. There's full medical benefits, 4 weeks of paid vacation. It's a great job. And so that's how I started at San Francisco Opera.
And how long have you been there?
Since 2009, but full-time since 2012.
When did you start teaching?
Oh, I started teaching right out of college. There was a music studio on the North Shore in Saugus, Massachusetts called Sincata's Music Box. And they needed teachers. And what you did was you would go around, they give you the number of people you're going to see in like a map in a certain order that was the best. They would plot it out for you. And then you would go and teach those people. And then you got the same people every week eventually. And then people would pay cash. And then you had to give the music company a little bit of money at the end of the day, like $20, and you walk off with $150 of cash. And you know, as mentioned, that $155 was my rent, so that's a pretty good deal. That's how I started. When I moved to Denver, I didn't teach then, but when I moved back to the East Coast, Washington, I started a private studio. But one of my friends was moving, and she left her job at the National Cathedral School, and she said, "Why don't you take this? You'd be really good at this." And that's when I started teaching at the National Cathedral School. And I've since then taught at a lot of different places. I was at Pinewood High School in Los Altos, a bunch of different private schools and private students in college. And I teach at the Young Women's Choral Society, which is in San Francisco. Before that, I was at the San Francisco Girls Chorus also. So I've been teaching a lot for a long time.
Have you taught anybody who's made it big?
Made it big.
Or at least, you know,
Like-
made it a career out of...
Oh yeah, a lot of my students have made careers out of it. I don't know. It's really hard to get the idea of making it big in opera. Making it big in opera seems to be being able to earn a living. There are not very many famous opera singers, and the ones that are working are definitely not, you know, we're not Pavarotti anymore. The most famous opera singer who still sings a little bit now is Renee Fleming, but there aren't really any superstars in opera like there were during the 1950s with Maria Callas and Joan Sutherland and there were some big stars in the 50s and 60s, but over time it's just not a terribly popular art anymore. It's sort of niche.
So what are some of your favorite types of operas? Do you like Italian, Broadway?
Well, Broadway is not an opera. Not at all. I like Broadway, but it's not an opera. Not even Phantom the Opera. That's not an opera. An opera is a classical piece of music with classical singers, usually, although sometimes there's something different. But anyway, with an orchestra and a lot of sets. It's very expensive. It's the most expensive classical art. Musical classical art, because it incorporates drama, sets, ballet, singing, costumes, orchestra, everything. So it's very expensive. My favorites, I do like Wagner operas. They're very long, and I love the music. I don't like being in them very much because they're very long and they're very dreary for the singers, but I love to see them. But I love the opera Turandot, which is a Puccini opera. I like Puccini a lot. And there's a couple of Verdi operas I like, but Puccini and Wagner, I like some French operas, Faust and Romeo and Juliet and The Tales of Hoffmann. Yeah, I think I'm eclectic. I just like what I like.
So you mentioned that you have a daughter. Does she like singing?
She likes it. She's very good at it, actually, but she never, it's hard to have a regular voice lesson with your kid or a regular piano lesson. So I had a piano teacher for her for a while, but she just really gravitated more to soccer and math and science like her dad. But she says she's absolutely great at karaoke. I can't wait to hear her. I have never heard her do karaoke, but I believe it. I think she has perfect pitch without even knowing it. Oh. She'll start off, she knows every song and all the words. Like if I say, well, sing, Hotel California, she'll start on the exact note that Don Henley started on, without even thinking about it. So I think she has perfect pitch, yeah. But she doesn't do anything musical at all.
So looking forward, planning to retire from the San Francisco Opera soon, you said in your bio, but continue teaching and traveling. You visited some incredible and unusual places, like unpopular places, that's what I mean.
Unpopular? Well, they're popular with someone.
Well, to like the mainstream.
Oh yeah,
like
well, unusual, exotic.
Yeah. So, what does the next chapter look like for you?
Well, I still have this year and next year to finish at the opera company, and this depends on kind of what the stock market does. I hate to say it, but retirement is, in the stock market, and so if it's really bad, I'll probably wait until a year. But after I leave the opera and retire from there, I will still teach. I have my girls in the chorus that I teach and my private students. And I will be traveling too. I have some other places on my bucket list. I went to Uzbekistan and I did like Central Asia, so I would like to go back to Central Asia and see Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan and maybe Turkmenistan. I would like to go to New Zealand very much, and Fiji on the way. There's some places that are a little bit off the beaten path, like the Solomon Islands would be really interesting, and that's sort of all the way down there too. I love the UK, and I want to go back and spend a lot more time. I just came back from Scotland, and I had been there once before, but it was November, so it wasn't quite so good. It was freezing and raining in November, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this place. So this time I went in July. It was nice and warm and sunny, and I loved it. So I'd like to do that and go to Ireland and the Hebrides, because I went up to Orkney this time, and that was very cool. And let's see, where else do I have a hankering to go? I love the Himalayas. I went to Tibet last summer and Nepal. It was the second time to Nepal, but I'd like to go to northern India, to Leh, and to like Darjeeling and Kalimpong and Shimla and Dharamsala. I'd like to meet the Dalai Lama. He lives in Dharamsala. He's getting old, so I better hurry up.
So your bio mentions a long list of places you've been, with many that are unpopular. So what sparked your interest to go to those like unpopular places?
Oh, well, I'm a very curious person. I have an insatiable curiosity. If I see a word I don't know, I have to look it up and like note it. If I hear about a place I've never heard of, I immediately go and research it. The Wikipedia is on all the time. I'm always looking for unusual things. There's a book called Atlas Obscura. I never go anywhere without looking in Atlas Obscura. And this Atlas Obscura, it tells you just about places that you could go where people they have a very different life than yours. And I'll give you an example. My daughter and I went to Bali, and I'd heard about this place called Trunyan. And in Bali, it was very hard to get to. And what I had heard about it was that they had a very interesting, they're Hindu, but they had a very interesting burial procedure, and this one little town did something that nobody else did. And so I wanted to know about it. So we went there, and this is what they did. It was really hard to get to. It was raining, and we had to pay a lot of money to get there because nobody wanted to take us. It was on an island, and they had to row us. It was raining. But what they do is when someone dies, they take the corpse and they parade it around the village for 3 days. And then they take them out and they put them in the dead person in a cage, which you can see right through. It's a bamboo cage. And they put them in there until they desiccate completely. And then after a year or so, and it's supposed to be under this particular tree, which is a banyan tree. They call it the good smelling tree. And they leave it under there and for a year or so until it's gone. And then they take the bones and they cut the head off and put it on a wall. And then they put the bones, well, we found out, we said, what's this trash heap over here? That was where they put the bones. No, it was so weird.
Wait,
I know, it was so weird, and it didn't smell or anything, but there was a couple of bodies in the baskets, and
So you saw.
so we saw it. Yeah, I have pictures of it if you want to see.
Wait, do a lot of people go there? Or was
No, it was
like
just me and my daughter. Although, and we had these two old guys who were on this rowboat, and they're rowing. They go, oh, where'd you book this? And I said, oh, I don't know. They go, oh, the organization. They're like, so apparently you used to just be able to go, and these guys. Well, now the organization got it and said, well, we'll pay these two guys $5 to go do this. It was like typical entrepreneurs. But when we were coming back in the rowboat, we saw a whole boat, or like a speedboat of Japanese tourists heading for the island. So we were there when it was like nobody. It was very interesting. Anyway, that's the kind of places I like. I kind of like going to. Also, in like I don't know, I like bones. So Paris Catacombs was really interesting, and
the Paris Catacombs is like the tunnels under Paris,
yeah,
right?
There's
I've heard
miles
about that.
and miles and miles of them, and they had the cemeteries were just getting too full and stinking, and they would bury people too deep, too shallow, so people were getting sick. So they had to dig this whole thing, and they would disinter people, and they're really interesting. They made them very neat. So I know it sounds so weird, but I don't know. It's interesting. Not everybody goes, but a lot of people do.
So, what's your favorite travel memory?
Boy, I think my favorite travel memories stem from something that I didn't expect, that are spontaneous, that just sort of happened while I was not expecting it. So I'm just thinking a very quick one. There's a city called Ravenna in Italy, and it's some really, really ancient buildings there from the 5th and 6th century. Ravenna used to be Byzantium, the capital before Constantinople or Istanbul became the center of Byzantium. And so these really, really beautiful old buildings are there, and there's something called San Vitale and the Gala Placida, I think it's called that. Anyway, I went there, and there were 1 million people in there, so you could hardly see the mosaics, and it's this really, really ancient 5th century building, and it's incredible that it's still there, and these beautiful mosaics. Well, anyway, I went when there was 9 million people. I tried to get pictures. It wasn't hard. Well, anyway, I noticed while I was there, they were supposed to have some kind of a big event, the Sound and Light show in their big square, and I thought, well, I'll go there. Well, meanwhile, I had gone to dinner, and I met this German couple that were sitting next to me at dinner, and we were just talking. I love talking to people, and when I'm having, it's really easy to talk to people when you're alone and in there alone and from all over the world. So they said, are you going to the concert tonight? And I said, what concert? And the Sound and Light? She goes, no, there's a concert, an organ concert at San Vitale. And I just went, oh my gosh, okay. So I went to the organ concert. There were no people there, 50 people. It was free. We got in there, and this incredible concert. They turned most of the lights off, just a few. It was so good. And the acoustics, and it was kind of spooky. And then they turned the lights on, and for half an hour you could just go wander around. And now there were no people in front of these incredible things to see, these mosaics. So you could see the floor even was exciting, because I couldn't see anything really before. You just this way. But that's the kind of thing that it just sort of happened, and it was really, really cool. And so when those kind of things happen, that's another thing that I like. It's just a random thing that happens, and it happens fairly frequently when I travel. That's something really random.
Serendipity.
Yeah, serendipity.
Wow, that's really cool. So what's your favorite type of like international singing and music type? Like, have you seen any international
Shows?
singing, and you were like, whoa, this is really good?
Okay, well, I don't know if it was really good, but it was definitely unique. Unique is good. So I was in Uzbekistan, and I know one person there, and she said, would you like to go see Carmen? It's playing at the Opera House. And I was like, oh, okay, I get to see the Opera House, and I get to see Carmen. So we went. It cost $4.50, which, I mean, here, you're spending $275 for a ticket. It was $4.50, which was good. beautiful opera house, 900 seats. There was maybe about half full, and they did it in Russian. And Carmen's in French. So I thought that was extremely unique, and that was really cool. That was just something that happened, but that was good. I usually don't seek out performances. A couple of times I've been to, well, there were some bagpipers in Scotland that I ended up seeing, and in China they had, there's an instrument, it's a stringed instrument called the erhu, and we saw, I don't know, we just got invited to this evening of erhu, and there was just all these old Chinese men sawing away at their little weird sound, but it was really, really interesting and really cool. And I've, when I was in Nepal and Tibet last year, we went to some monasteries and the monks sang, and they have really interesting songs. They're kind of monotone and there was some other singing that the monks did, the Buddhist monks. Yeah. I like not going to see opera. I like to go see something else.
Wow. So I know you collect textiles from all over the world. For those who don't know, can you explain what a textile is?
Okay, this is a textile. This is a textile. My pants, your pants, my scarf. Textiles are, I like handmade textiles, so hand woven. So in Guatemala, they use a backstrap loom, and they hand make all their clothing. And I went nuts in Guatemala. They hand loom them on these little backstrap, and they're about this wide, and then they put them together so you can't see the seam, and then they embroider on top of them. Oh, and we live in the United States, and everything's machine made. And so I went to Uzbekistan mostly to buy something called a Suzani, which is a handmade, it's made out of silk usually, or cotton, and it's a wall hanging, and it's very, very closely embroidered and they're big, and they have special tribal designs, and they also make ikats, which is a kind of dyeing, and so I have a lot of that, but I particularly like hand woven, hand embroidered stuff, because it takes forever to make them, and these people don't get paid very much money. If you spent that long from an American making these things, it would cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, because our time is worth more here because it's more expensive here. So these are art to me. They are art, and they're not just a craft. And they go back centuries. These people make them the same way they have for centuries. So in Turkey also, in Morocco, and the rugs that I buy, they're all handmade, and they take forever, and I just love them. And I don't know if people appreciate how much work goes into these things, but I do.
Okay, what's your favorite textile you have?
I think it's my Turkish rug that's in my living room. It's a big Turkish rug, and
The red one?
Yeah, the red one. And I absolutely love that. And it annoys me that one of my cats goes like this on. But yeah, it's just a beautiful rug. And I bought it in Turkey and had it shipped home, and it's been my favorite rug ever since then.
What's your most valuable piece?
Most valuable? I'm not sure. I don't know how you qualify that or quantify it, because if I bought that here, it costs a lot more money. Like I have an Indian rug that I bought in the United States, and it was much more money than any of the ones I bought overseas. And so I don't know. I don't really know. I would say probably the one I bought in Turkey. I still think that was, I don't know, but you make a bargain with all those people. You don't just say, okay, I'll take that. Do you?
No, not really.
Okay.
So you've been to all these places. If someone were to travel for the first time, like they've never traveled anywhere outside the U.S., where would you tell them to go first?
Oh, well, I think probably the UK, because they can speak English, and it's really interesting. It depends on whether they like history. England is all about history, and it's beautiful, and it's where a lot of Americans. It's our base when we came here many years ago. Although it just seems like our motherland, But I think that's a really good place to go. I think Paris and Rome, Italy is an amazing place to go for a first time. But can both Paris or both France and Italy have the language barrier? So probably going to a place where they speak English would be the best choice. Australia, New Zealand, those would be good places to go.
So, as we wrap up this amazing, fun, and inspirational podcast, I do this thing called Nate's 8, where I will ask Miss Janet 8 rapid-fire questions, and she will answer them off the top of her head. Alright, so let's get started. So, question number 1. If you could have dinner with anyone, past, present, or future, who would it be?
Mozart.
And why is that?
Oh gosh, he was so brilliant. He just is so inspirational. He was just, I wish he could time travel so I could meet him. He would be so amazed at music now. And I wish he hadn't died at 38 or whatever, how old he was, because 35. Oh, he was just so young when he died, and he was just so far ahead of his time. But it would be Mozart.
Yeah. What's the last book that you read?
Oh, well, the last book that I read, you mean the one I'm reading now?
Yeah, that.
It's called, well, let's see the last one. The last one was called Wolfskin by Juliet Maria. I have a Kindle, so the title doesn't come up every time I look at the book. So I forget what the title is. Yeah, The Wolfskin by Juliet Maria.
And what's that about?
Oh, it takes place in Orkney Island, where I just was. And I even recognized where it was. It was so cool. I didn't know it was taking place there. It takes place it's like when the Vikings sort of came to England, and what happened when these cultures clashed. It was really fun, and I could recognize exactly. It's called the Bureau Brose, the brow of Bierse, right where it was, where I just was. It was so cool.
What is your favorite song?
Oh, ever?
Like of all time?
Oh my. You know, I got quite a few. But there's a hymn tune that I really love called Be Thou My Vision, which is a Christian hymn. It's just a tune that I really love.
That's playing right now, by the way. You're hearing it. I'll play it while we do this segment.
Really?
Yeah. What is your favorite sports team?
I don't have one.
Okay.
I hate sports.
You hate sports. Okay. What's your favorite food?
Oh gosh, pasta and bread.
Where's your favorite place to be?
To be? Well, probably my house, but anywhere else, you mean?
Like in the world.
Oh, in the woods, in the forest, on a mountain in a forest, I love being in the mountains and the woods.
If you could go back in time and say something to your younger self, what would you tell her?
Oh. Boy, I think I would tell myself to not get married.
What would you do if you could do anything other than being a teacher and a opera singer?
Well, I would write travel books. I would just travel and write books. I may do that.
And for a final question that's not part of Nate's 8, what's some advice that you have for the next generation?
Of people going to sing?
Just of this next generation.
Oh, of anybody doing anything.
Anybody.
Oh, don't make the mistakes my generation have made with the environment, with greed, and kick the billionaires to the wall.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you guys so much for watching. Miss Janet, it was a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me on the show today.
All right, thank you.